Okay, everyone, so if you're watching this playthrough on YouTube, here's the situation, here's what happened. I didn't beat the last boss, and I'm not going to spend, it's already almost 1 in the morning. I'm not going to spend endless hours tonight grinding. I have no more time for this game. I'm sorry. I didn't enjoy it enough. I already put 30 hours into it. I didn't enjoy it enough to try to play it more just for this final segment of the game, okay? And what I actually did on stream, because as you know I live stream while I record these playthroughs, is we actually watched an ending of the ending together. So I actually went on someone else's playthrough on YouTube and I played it on stream and we watched it together and I did commentary. Now, it would not be right nor moral for me or honorable for me to upload that video to YouTube, because I did not, number one, I did not beat the final boss. I did not earn the right to, you know, say that that was my hard-earned work. It wasn't. Number two, that would be absolutely ridiculous. Taking someone else's work and putting ads and stuff on it would not be fair at all. That's not, I'm totally against that. I will never be for that. And so where I'm leaving this at is this. I'm going to right now give you my final thoughts on the series as a kind of retrospective of playing all 3 games. I'll tell you what I think about the ending, and if you ever want to see the full ending, there are plenty of people who have beaten the game, and that is on YouTube. You can check that out. And I did actually record my commentary of the ending, but I'm not going to put that on YouTube. Maybe at some point in the future, it's like a bonus video I'll put somewhere or something, but I am not going to put that on YouTube and put ads on it, because that is not right. Okay? So, what do I think? First of all, the ending. The ending is kind of poor. It's pretty much a complete cop-out. The ending doesn't make a lot of sense. Why can lightning kill God? No explanation as to how she got enough power to kill God to begin with. Everyone shows up at the ending, including her sister, which also makes no sense, because if they were all dead already or whatever, you know, all of a sudden they can magically find each other in the afterlife, which makes no sense. They turn into fucking anime-like Dragon Ball characters, summoning spirit bombs and doing saber swords and all kinds of stupid shit. It was quite a poor ending. And the one thing I can say positive about the ending is at least they end the game. Final Fantasy XIII 2 gave you no ending. And it was like, what the fuck? That is stupid shit that I have to buy a DLC to even get a semi-decent ending. Here at least you got one. I just think that it was really poor. And I think that it was a way for them to try to wrap up the whole series and say, okay, here it is, happy ending, versus actually writing something that made sense. Because the ending doesn't make any sense, okay? So, the bottom line is, the Final Fantasy XIII series, unfortunately, is just, they've driven Final Fantasy into its grave. They really have. The game this game is the worst, not only of the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy, but I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I actually genuinely feel this is the worst Final Fantasy game I've ever played. And I have played Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, all 3 13s. I played the 2 Final Fantasies on the original Game Boy. I played Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy, what was that other one that I played? The 2 that were the Tactics, Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Advance. I played a lot of Final Fantasy games. This is the worst one, by far. By far. The game is fetch quests. The whole fucking game is fetch quests. There's no grinding. You're not allowed to go grind in the game. Instead, you have to do repetitive fetch quests to gain experience. In what game ever in history, did you have a role-playing game where the combat was meaningless? And that's the bottom line. The combat in this game is meaningless. The only reason you do combat is to try to get random drops, item drops. It's stupid, it's pointless, it's very poorly executed. It's one of the worst games I've ever played in regards to role-playing games. And previously I said Final Fantasy VIII was my least favorite Final Fantasy. No, this is by far my worst favorite Final Fantasy of all of them. And it's a shame, because if you look at the production values put into the game, look at the cutscenes, you know what I mean, the music, now that stuff's done well. It's that the gameplay is barely the gameplay of a role-playing game anymore. Let's face it, they finally changed it to the point, just for the sake of changing it, by the way, they fired, apparently, the guy who designed the combat system for Final Fantasy XIII and XIII-2. They got a whole new team on this one, and I think it's bad. I think that the combat, the previous 2 games was far better, okay? And, I think they really went off the rails with this one, and I pray that this is the last game involving these characters, because it's over. It's enough. Enough is enough. And the bottom line is this, I have determined, and it's funny because this game in particular, Final Fantasy Lightning Returns, I was on the fence about even playing it, okay? And quite honestly, if there were other stuff out during this time period, I probably would have played that stuff over this game. This game is that bad, okay? But I put 30 hours into the game saying I wanted to experience the final game in the series. That's it. It's over now, right? So I am putting down my foot saying, as of right now, I am no longer playing any games in the Final Fantasy XIII series, period. I don't care if they make another sequel, if there's a DLC, if they make a fighting game based off of it like they said they were going to and they never did, if they're going to do any, I don't care. I don't fucking care. This is done now, and it's an awful ending. It was such a sour note to end the 3 games. The worst one of the trilogy by far. One of the worst role-playing games ever made by far. And Square Enix, quite honestly, should be fucking ashamed of themselves that they took a series that was held in such esteemed and high regard, and literally within the course of 4 years, put it into its grave. Because it's going to take a ton of changes and a ton of, positive things to get people to buy another Final Fantasy game after this one. Especially if they bought all 3 and they're like, what the fuck? This is how they ended. Like, you got to get our faith back at this point. And a lot of people are saying Final Fantasy XV, which, by the way, was supposed to be Final Fantasy XIII Versus, the game that was supposed to be a trilogy of Final Fantasy XIII games. That never happened. So this game is going to make or break the Final Fantasy series. If this one isn't good, and if people don't like it, it's done. I say that's it for Final Fantasy. So Square Enix has a lot of work to do, and they're really going to have to go back to the drawing board, especially if that game is anything like this one, because this one is shit. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this game, okay? And I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me, and they're going to thumbs down the video, and they're going to leave negative comments. Oh, if Phil had learned how to play the game, he would have liked it. No. I know how to play the game. I know what they want me to do here. I know absolutely what they want me to do at the end of the game. And I'm not saying I don't like the game because I didn't beat it. I'm saying I just don't like the game. The story's awful. The combat's awful. The fact that most of the gameplay is just fetch quests is awful. The fact that you have to run in circles to do anything in the game and waste countless hours running from point A to point B repeatedly is awful. The game is awful. Stay away from it. If you did not buy it, but you played the first 2 and you're like, oh, I'll wait for it to be a discount, do not fucking waste your money. You will get more use out of your money by wiping your ass with it than spending it to play this game. Just watch the fucking cutscenes and ending from someone else's playthrough on the internet and fucking just avoid it like the plague. You don't want this game in your life. Okay? Alright. That being said, that is the end of the Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns playthrough. I thank you, especially if you suffered through it to this point. It is what it is. That's the end of the series. For better or for worse, goodbye to Lightning and all her friends from the land of Pulse and everywhere else, wherever the fuck, who knows, because it's been so long. I thank you for joining me, whether it was either on Twitch or on YouTube. Thank you very much. And let's hope that in the near future, which, by the way, there are some really good HD collections supposedly coming out in the near future, we can enjoy some better role-playing game experiences together. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm trading in this game tomorrow. No lie, I'm trading it into GameStop tomorrow, so I never have to think of it again and pretend like I never played it. Good night.